Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We can see you're coming in. If you would like, you may use the chat function to let us know which country, city, or state you're joining from. We are delighted to welcome you to our webinar today titled The Art of Falling Up, Navigating Secondhand Trauma with Purpose and Self-Compassion. My name is Analia. I am the Manager of Training and Curriculum here at Cross Cultural Communications, the leading U.S. training agency for medical and community interpreting. I'm the creator of Blue Horizon, our online learning platform for self-paced and live training programs. I will be your host for today's one-hour webinar. My colleague, and I call her Superwoman, Naisel Zavala, Administrative Support Assistant at Cross Cultural Communications, will join us as well. She's behind the scenes. Naisel will manage the chat and provide useful information throughout the webinar. Before we begin, and as we wait for everyone to come online, I would like to share with you our upcoming trainings for the fall. Naisel will share the link to that you will need in case that you would like to register. Please remember that CCC operates in Eastern time zone. So all the times that I'm going to mention are Eastern time. The first class, just around the corner, titled Machine Translation Literacy. This class, you will learn to assess machine translation tools, avoid legal risks, and improve your translation skills. This course is perfect for translators, interpreters, and language service managers. Get hands-on practice, a slide deck, and key resources to enhance your work. This workshop will take place live via Zoom on Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Next, we have the TCII TOT. The TOT trains and licenses interpreters to deliver the Community Interpreter International Program. This allows you to run your own training programs with the help and support of CCC. The fall cohort starts on November 3rd through the 21st. There will be two instructors, the amazing Otisha Ayala and myself. Happy to be with all of you. Last but not least, TEIO Lesson 1 and 2. Check out our latest self-paced program, the Educational Interpreter Online. This program is breaking new ground for interpreters in schools. There are currently 2 lessons available with more on the way, covering the foundations of educational interpreting. With built-in activities, interviews, let me tell you, this is really exciting, interviews with leading experts and CEUs available. These courses offer a learning experience unlike any other. Not sure if it is for you? Guess what? Stay tuned for a free demo, which will be available soon. Okay, now I will go again over a few points regarding the webinar just to refresh our minds. The webinar presentation will last between 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a 15 to 20-minute Q&A period during which you can ask our presenters any questions you have. During the webinar, please keep the Q&A feature open and then use the Q&A only to submit questions for our presenter. Now, if you have questions for us at Cross Cultural Communication, or if you want to communicate with everyone else, please use the chat feature instead. And if you want everyone to see your comments in the chat, please make sure to set the chat to everyone. Lastly, if you want to stay on after our presenter leaves at the end of the hour to chat with Naisel or me, we will be happy to answer any questions about both cross-cultural communications, and Blue Horizon. The webinar has been approved for CE use. Please remember 48 hours. It's not 24 anymore. It's 48 hours after the webinars. Attendees will be mailed a link to download a certificate of attendance. It will go to the same email that you used to register for this webinar. Please check your spam or junk folder if you don't see it. Certificates are only available for attendees of the live session of this webinar. These certificates, they must be downloaded within 3 weeks of today's session. Do not delay. We won't be able to send your certificate after 3 weeks. Also, after you download your certificate and save it in your computer, right, on the cloud, you will want to add your name to the fillable field before you submit it for CEs. That has happened to me. Submitted for CE use and then didn't have my name. Okay, now without further ado, let's begin our webinar titled The Art of Falling Up, Navigating Secondhand Trauma with Purpose and Self-Compassion. Our presenter today is Darci Graves. Let's see. Hi, Darci. With more than 20 years of experience across healthcare, government, and advocacy, she is known for making complex concepts accessible and actionable. Darci is what happens when compassion, cultural competency, and charisma converge. A nationally recognized expert in health equity and longtime advocate for culturally and linguistic appropriate services, Darci turns big ideas like inclusion, cultural humility, and resilience into practical strategies that inspire change. Whether she's guiding hospitals through equity-centered transformation or helping audiences reframe life detours, Darci brings depth, warmth, and just the right touch of wit. She will change you to think differently, connect more meaningfully, and take action with purpose. Darci, we are thrilled to have you. And I am going to disappear because you are the one that we're waiting to hear from. The floor is yours, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I was sharing with the team earlier today. I've been presenting and working with interpreters off and on for the better part of the last 20 plus years, and you all are just always the most amazing audiences, and I'm just thrilled to be able to be here with you today. I just want to confirm that if somebody can give me a thumbs up, that my slides are showing.
Yes, they are.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for those who chimed in. And I have to confess, I was amazed when I saw the chats coming in. We had Disneyland, Canada, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Poland, New York City, Idaho. Did I say Disneyland? And then, of course, I saw lots of Spain, lots of my neighbors here in the Maryland and DC area. So lucky to be here with you all today. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to what I hope is going to be a practical, non-clinical conversation about vicarious trauma that helpers carry. And I consider you to be some of the ultimate helpers. And I'm honored to be here to talk about something that touches the lives of so many, particularly all of you who carry the unique burden of giving voice to other people's experiences. Before we dive in, I just want to, again, thank you for being here. and acknowledge the deep emotional labor that you all do when you're giving voice to others, often worst experiences or difficult experiences, often speaking narratives in the first person and just making things better for folks. So thank you for all of that. I also want to acknowledge that I am not a mental health professional, nor do I play one on TV or Zoom. But I am somebody who has been through some things, and I've developed tools for myself that have helped me get back on my feet. And so this is not a therapeutic session, but it is grounded in evidence-based wellness strategies that many people find helpful. So the philosophy of falling up, because I know people are like, falling up, was born out of a time of great upheaval for myself. In August of 2013, I was diagnosed with a highly aggressive stage 2 cancer. In September of that year, I had major surgery to remove the cancer. And in October, I started some pretty heavy duty chemotherapy. And in November, my soul dog died. Needless to say, it was a lot. But around that same time, my eldest niece, who was just shy of 2 at the moment, was walking with my brother. And as toddlers do, she was narrating, and nearby a boy fell, and she said, "Look at that boy, he fell down." And my brother said, "Yeah, he did." And she said, "He needs to fall up." And with that phrase, to fall up, something clicked for me, because it wasn't your typical, uh, I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you, or those usual refrains about, don't worry, you'll bounce back, or this is building character. Because I think most of us would confess we happened with, we have enough character. And ultimately, and this is part of the foundation of all of this, is I would love for us as a society to stop giving out resilience, to stop giving out badges and trophies for resilience. Now, resilience is so important, but that isn't the prize. It's, if you think about it, you know what else we call resilient? Or those types of things that bounce back and forth? Rubber bands. They stretch when we ask, they bounce back. But if you stretch them too far or too often, they can snap. And over time, they can be worn out by stress and age. So why would we as humans aspire to be a rubber band? And I'm sharing this because the tools that helped me through my medical events and my medical trauma can be adapted for the unique challenges that so many face, including all of you. So why the art of falling up? Why did I need to come up with my own phrase? Well, like I said, resilience is important, but it's not a trophy. Because in all my conversations with people in communities navigating disruptions, the quiet truth keeps coming back. Wouldn't we rather not have to be resilient at all? Wouldn't we just love to not have to stretch those muscles? And I think we also have, I won't say issues, but as a society, we love survivors, but don't always have the patience for those who are in the process of surviving. Now, disruptions are inevitable, and that's where falling up comes in. I feel like resilience helps you endure, but falling up helps you evolve. Falling up is a decision to move through pain with purpose. It's about making sure that stress doesn't make us brittle or bitter. It's about choosing how we rise, not back to who we were, but towards who we're becoming. So traditionally, we lean into what I call the power through approach, where you might hear phrases uh, like toxic positivity. You're not given any more than you can carry. You're building character. You're so strong. You're a warrior. But, or we encourage people to bounce back. Don't worry, you'll bounce back. You're strong. But you notice, much like the arrow on this graphic, when you have a ball that bounces, the more it bounces, the closer it gets to the floor. And then we have those false strength narratives of needing rest, falling apart, and thinking that those are signs of weakness, when truly they are not. They're part of the process. So what do we mean when it fall up? It means refusing to let hardship or upheaval define us, but also refusing to pretend it didn't change us. This isn't about this isn't about silver linings or everything happens for a reason, although sometimes that's true. For lack of a better turn of phrase, sometimes things just happen and they suck. Falling us up is what we do next. It's recognizing that rest is not a sign of weakness. You can grow through difficulty and remembering that your healing is not linear. And that's another thing I think we can learn a lot about in society today. We already talked a little bit about today's learning objectives, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but just know that we're going to talk about these various concepts of vicarious trauma, burnout, compassion fatigue, some signs that you might be experiencing some of those, and then we'll walk through the framework of feel, rest, plot, rise, and cheer. We'll talk about different strategies for each of those phases. And then really think about reframing healing and resilience as something that is ongoing, non-linear, and includes celebration, reflection, and making sure that you're reconnected to your purpose. So just to kind of get a sense of what we have going on, just, want to say, what brought you here today. So just in the chat, would love to see if you want to use one of the letters from the multiple choice that's on the screen, or just a word or two. How are you feeling? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you recognizing signs of trauma? Seeing lots of ease, all of the above. Yes. So lots and lots of options. Okay, y'all are amazing. So there's a lot of things that we'll talk about today. Yes, AAD supporting, yeah, so many things. Okay. So thank you so much for that. and E. I hear that. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to explore understanding the weight we carry, dive into the framework, as I mentioned, and give you practical tools. I am not a touchy-feely sort of person, but I do believe in practical tools that you can do without feeling overwhelmed. Again, I do want to underscore this. I am not a medical professional, so this is not clinical therapy nor medical advice. It's not a quick fix. And so I would be remiss if I didn't say up front, this is educational awareness and general wellness strategies. But if you are experiencing persistent symptoms, intrusive thoughts, or significant changes in well-being, professional support may be helpful. I will have information about that at the end of this presentation, but I thank you so much for being here, and we want to make sure that everyone stays here and gets all of the types of help that they need. Okay, so let's start by defining our terms. So vicarious trauma is the transformation that can happen with repeated exposure to other people's trauma. Essentially, you become a sponge, absorbing the emotional impact of others' difficult experiences. Sound familiar? Burnout is a physical and emotional exhaustion from work demands, and compassion fatigue is the emotional residue from the cost of caring. And when I proposed this webinar, I was primarily focused on the vicarious trauma part. But as I dug deeper into my slides and my talking points, I was like, no, it's really all of these things. It's a Venn diagram that overlaps a whole heck of a lot, especially for you all who are deeply passionate about the stories that you are helping people tell. And with that can come emotional exhaustion and compassion fatigue, which is why we want to make sure that, we are providing tools to take care of you and to take care of each other. So, and, in this time in life and society, there's a lot of other things that can be that can be giving us vicarious trauma or burnout and compassion fatigue. So hopefully at the end of our time together, we will have a few more tools, ideas, skills to try and help us move through all of the stuff. But first I want to make sure that we talk about uh, uh, the paradox, if you will, of being a helper. So your empathy is your superpower, but it's also a little bit of your kryptonite or your vulnerability, because you witness things that others cannot bear alone. And many of us are probably employed in systems that reward endless giving, and we are compelled to continue to give. And then we have that cultural and societal pressure to stay strong and bounce back. And you all have the additional pieces of professional requirements to remain neutral while processing sometimes really intense content, often with limited breaks between difficult cases. So just a quick high-level overview, and I'm sure none of this is going to be super surprising to you all, but recognizing some of the emotional signs of what we were talking about, and they could be increased cynicism or numbness, difficulty separating work from your personal life, changes in worldview or a sense of safety, feeling emotionally contaminated, or a loss of hope or meaning. And again, you may notice this more because of how you process and how you're telling stories in first person. And you might notice that certain types of cases or languages affect you more than others. But none of that is wrong or weird or bad. These are common responses to difficult work. And noticing them isn't weakness, it's awareness. And awareness is so important as we move through the healing process. Physical signs. Your body also responds to what you witness and voice. Physical signs might include sleep disruption or nightmares, changes in appetite, feeling constantly on alert like you need to watch for danger, unexplained aches and tensions, fatigue that doesn't quite get fixed with rest. And you may notice tension in your body during difficult testimony or find your body reacting when you're speaking traumatic content. And it's always having to be self-aware to be able to distinguish between what you are interpreting versus what you are experiencing. And I know that is 100% easier said than done. So I just want to take just a quick pause. We've already covered a lot. So I just wanted you to take a moment and check in with yourself, jot down on a Post-it note on your notepad that thing that your brain or body said, yes, that too, so that you don't forget. And remember that whatever you've noticed is valid. And we're going to work with that awareness as we move forward. And now that we've explored what you might be experiencing, let's talk about what you can do about it. Because I never want to raise anything that folks can't also without providing tools for how you can address. So here's the following up framework. So during my breast cancer journey, following up became a practice, a series of intentions that I returned to again and again. I didn't talk about them much at the time because it was my process, and people primarily asked or focused on the physicality of my cancer symptoms, my bald head, my gray skin, my frequent need to sit or nap. Are you cold? Do you need a hat? Here's a scarf. You're looking better today. Those sorts of things. And it wasn't actually until earlier this year that I started saying them out loud, because in April, I was part of the reduction in force in the federal government. And as that reality set in around me, I felt my body return to the practices I had done during treatment and recovery, even without me reminding myself to do it. I felt my body go back there. And so that's when I knew I needed to name them and share them more broadly. So thank you for being here. But because so many of us are going through so much, and we need, again, practical ways to cope and keep moving forward. So here we are. Feel, rest, plot, rise, cheer. Like the stages of grief, the process of falling up isn't linear. You might feel rest and cheer all in a single day, or even in a single moment. These aren't boxes to check, but stops along a journey uh, so that you can come back to being yourself, whatever version of that self is at that time. So now we're going to spend some time in each of the phases or steps, if you will. So the first step is feel, giving ourselves permission to sit in the discomfort. I say feel all the feelings. We have a tendency to try to push them down or bottle them up or ignore them altogether. But what if feeling, and I really believe this, is the first step towards healing? And this is about being specific about what you're feeling, naming what's actually there. It's about processing versus wallowing. I talk about this as a journey, and when I tell other people about it, I always say, you shouldn't take up residence here. This is not your new home address. This is your chance to feel it all, because you're going to feel it at some point. And there's actually a quote, it came out later, past my cancer journey, from Tyler Perry. And he said, grief is a very living thing. And I would say this is emotions of all sorts, but grief is a very living thing. It visits at random. You can't schedule it. You can try to work it away, drink it away, busy it away. All it will do is wait for you to finish. So when it shows up, however it shows up, let it. And I couldn't come up with a better summary of feeling all the feelings than that, because they're going to show up. And I would rather control how I feel them rather than have them hit me randomly later. So that's one thing. Two practical ways of maybe thinking about this, or two practical things to keep in mind. So there's a practice called name it to tame it. So instead of I feel bad, or I feel angry, or I feel fill in the blank, try I notice anxiety in my chest, or I'm experiencing frustration about that case. Because research shows that labeling the emotions with specificity can reduce their intensity. Another thing to keep in mind, and this comes from a neurologist, you've heard of the 5-second rule. Well, this is the 90-second rule. Neurologist Jill Bolte Taylor's research shows that the physiological lifespan, so not the emotional lifespan, but the physiological lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds. 90 seconds, a minute and a half. That's how long it can sit in your body. That's the lifespan. So if you're able to, you can tell yourself, I can feel anything for 90 seconds. And just experience it and let it move through your body. For interpreters, this can mean, again, distinguishing between emotions you're interpreting versus your own response to the content. Someone's anger does not have to be your own, and learning how to separate those experiences and training your body and your brain to do so could be really helpful. So again, just want to take a quick moment to check in on yourself. There's a tool called RAIN, which is a mnemonic about recognize what's here right now, allow, can I let this be here? Investigate, how does this feel in my body? And nurture, what do I need right now to move forward and move through? This is a simple self-assessment, a self-awareness tool, not therapy, but many people find it helpful for checking in with themselves. It gives you a way of acknowledging what you're experiencing without getting overwhelmed by it. If you're anything like me, you'll be like, I need to be more aware of what I'm going through. And you'll step out of the room that you were just in and go, okay, how am I feeling? Okay, fine. And then move on. But that's not, that may not be true. The acronym again is RAIN, R-A-I-N, recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. And so do that quick body scan. Think about embedding this into your life in different ways in between sessions to make sure that you're really, truly checking all of the things and not just going, oh, yeah, I'm good. Because that is a thing. At least I know I'm guilty of. Okay, so after we feel all the feelings, here comes rest, which is really about creating space for recovery. Rest is not laziness nor weakness. It's not something you earn through suffering or through powering through. It's something that you, and it's not only about sleep. Rest is a radical act of self-preservation. It's essential for sustainable helping, which I think most of us are probably committed to and a little bit guilty of. And you can figure out how to make it available in micro moments throughout your day. So on this slide, I list 4 types of rest. And I did this because I, in a former career, helped an organization define health as physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. And in order to have health, you think about all 4 of those pieces. So as I was pulling this presentation together, I thought about, well, there's probably 4 types of rest as well. So physical rest is that sleep, that stillness, maybe gentle movement. Think Tai Chi, think meditation. Mental, brain breaks, mindless activities, not doom scrolling on your phone, but like something that really lets you let things melt away. Social, finding your safe spaces, finding supportive relationships. We all have those friends or family members who do better in the times than when we're falling apart than others. Reach out to the people who are better when you're falling apart and just say, I invite people over. I'm like, come over. We can talk. We can not talk. We can just sit on the couch, and stare at a wall. It's really just creating that space for somebody to, uh, take things down a notch. And then the spiritual rest, connect to what brings your life meaning. That may be a walk in the woods. It may be gardening. It may be going to church or synagogue or mosque. It can be a lot of different things, but make sure you're taking care and thinking about the types of rest you need, depending on what type of angst or issue that you're facing. Okay. Next up, and this is always, again, harder, easier said than done, internal boundaries. Think about energy boundaries versus time boundaries. We mostly talk about time boundaries in society. Energy boundaries recognize that your capacity isn't just about hours. It's about what you can mentally and emotionally handle versus time boundaries where you focus on a clock. 30-minute lunch, clock out, clock back in. But really, what do you have the energy to do in terms of a capacity building? Or you can borrow from spoon theory, which comes from the chronic condition community. The idea that you have limited energy or spoons each day that you can budget accordingly. Embrace, so if you have 10 spoons when you wake up in the morning, but your work day is going to require 7 spoons and you have to use the 7 spoons at work, how do you think through the other 3 spoons? How do you budget those? How can you make sure that you are taking care of the other pieces. Think about it, energy audits. What gave me energy today? What drained my energy today? And what's one energy draining thing that I can say no to this week? Figure out mantras. I give myself permission to be imperfect today. One that I struggle with on the daily. My worth is not measured by my productivity. My worth is not measured by my productivity. And some days, 70% effort is 100% given. So if you had 10 spoons and you used 10 spoons, you gave 100%. And that's amazing. And then come up with some transition rituals. Figure out how you can leave work leave work at work. When I would leave the office, my transition ritual was always calling my mom on the way home, because that let me leave work at the office, and I learned about what her day had been. And I wasn't letting the endless meetings or emails continue to churn inside my brain. Okay. After we rest, we plot. And I say plot because you plan a vacation, you plot how you want your life to feel. Reimagine your life forward, how growth can help transform us. Old solutions might not fit your new realities. If what you did before isn't working anymore, it's okay and it's right to come up with new things. So this is figuring out for you all, how has this work affected you? What adaptations might help support your well-being? You're not the same person who started doing this work, this career, all of, a week ago, a month ago, 10 years ago. And your self-care strategies may need to also evolve. Okay. So another interactive moment. Think about one small step that you could take this week. Examples could include 10 minutes of daily rest, having one honest conversation about work stress, asking for help with something specific, or setting one boundary. Think to yourself, what matters most when everything feels unclear or wackadoodle? What's the tiniest movement forward? You don't have to take huge steps. Baby steps are perfect. How can you build room to adjust? If you're anything like me, you fill your day up with all sorts of stuff, and it's difficult to take time to make those adjustments. Don't overthink things, which is another thing I'm deeply guilty of. What's another one small thing that feels doable right now? And then there's a good enough decision framework. And if you're anything like me as a type A person, you have a to-do list. And so looking at your to-do list, think about, if you have decisions on the list, rate those decisions based on importance. One, sort of important. Two, pretty important. Three, super important. And then delegate those times. Level one, if it's one, you spend 5 minutes on it. If it's a level 2, give yourself 30 minutes or whatever seems appropriate. Level 3, do the honey badger search and research it all thoroughly. And if something on your list didn't get a 1, 2, or a 3, then that's, however much time or however much energy you can devote to that, that's good enough. So now we have felt, we have rested, we have plotted, and now we can start to rise, stepping back into your purpose. But this time, rising with wisdom, lessons learned, maybe some new boundaries, and maybe some even realistic expectations for yourself. Remember, this is about not going back to who you exactly were before whatever happens, or before your bad day, but to whom you're becoming. And this is how the sustainable engagement can replace endless giving, because Once your cup is empty, it's really hard to refill it. So if you can make that sustainable, this goes back to putting your own oxygen mask on first, or whatever kind of uh, anecdote you want to hear. Okay, rise. We talked about internal boundaries. Here is, we have, now we're going to talk about external boundaries. And again, if you are anything like me, um, we have to, I have to practice setting up my boundaries, because otherwise I'll be like, oh, sure, fine, I'll just take it on. And then you become the person who wearing 7,000 hats. So I come up with the language that I need and I practice saying it in my head. So, here are some options. I have capacity for 2 difficult tasks today. Hello, loved one. I can give you, or friend, I can give you my full attention for 20 minutes, but that's about all I can do, because I got some crazy going on in my life. Colleague, I need to take a break after this case. Um, Boss, I'm not available for overtime today, but maybe tomorrow. Coworker, I'll need a few minutes between these cases to reset, or I need to step out briefly before the next session. And scheduler, I can interpret this afternoon or this evening, but not both. So if you can practice saying those things, then it becomes a little bit easier to use them. Because if it's, if you don't have them ready, ready in the back of your head when that question comes up, we can make sure that you have that phrase. Okay, rise, making sure you reconnect with your purpose. What can you handle? What can you take? How do you build in recovery time? Rest between sessions, advocating for change within your organization if you need to, individual healing plus collective action. But it's always making sure, because I never want anyone to have to do square peg round hole. It's so hard. And sometimes you have to do it because that's the job, that's what you do. But hopefully there are ways that things can evolve. Now, let's talk about purpose reconnection. Why we started versus why we stay in the work. What originally called you to make this career choice? What sustains you now? And how has your purpose evolved? Finding meaning in difficult work is essential for long-term sustainability. Your why might have changed, and that's completely normal. But finding meaning in the difficult work shouldn't be your only source of meaning. Okay, so finally, the last phase we have is cheer. I always say, celebrate all the things. But all the other ones had 1-syllable words, so I went with cheer. But basically, this comes down to celebrate all the things. Celebrate progress, reconnect to your purpose. Celebration rewires your brain for resilience. It acknowledges the courage in the small steps, and it counteracts trauma's tendency towards negativity. And these can be big celebrations and micro celebrations. I joke often that, and anybody who's worked in healthcare or had a major procedure or been a caretaker for somebody who's had a major procedure in a hospital, one of the things you have to do before discharge, and this is impolite over the lunch hour, but is to pass gas or to go number 2. And if you can celebrate that, and I'm telling you, every one of us has celebrated that when we get to go home, you can celebrate just about anything. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It needs to be, it can be a pat on the back, could be a cupcake, could be whatever it is, but celebrate. What makes your life feel whole? Think about community and authentic connection. Joy as resistance and resilience. Meaning beyond the helping work. Beauty, play, creativity, pull all of that into your life. Spiritual or transcendent experiences. Again, what fills you up outside of work? Make sure you get to reclaim your languages for joy and not just difficult content. And how can you use your linguistic skills for pleasure and connection outside of work? Create rituals. Now, here are some simple celebration practices. Again, practical. The, you know, daily wins acknowledgement. What went well today? 3 good things before I went to bed. What did I navigate well this week? Do it seasonally for marking transitions and growth. Lean into community celebrations and celebrate wins of others and with others. And these, again, don't have to be big gestures. Small acknowledgements count too. I've had a number, of milestones, everything in, the big ones. I've bought myself a piece of jewelry that happens to be rings. And that is my ritual in the morning. Each ring represents something different to me. And so when I put it on, it all takes 30 seconds. But when I put it on, I remember that I've accomplished that before. I've done hard things. I've overcome so much because I did this. And so, think through those pieces. Okay, another way is to, you can integrate all of these things. So maybe at the end of the week, you do your own falling up sort of exercise. What emotions showed up this week? When did I feel most or least rested? What small step can I take next week? How did I honor my purpose this week? And what's worth celebrating? So what's next? Take your one small step. Be compassionate with yourself. Prioritize progress over perfection, and don't do this alone. Find those good people. You don't have to implement any or all of this at once. You can pick and choose from what makes sense to you, what resonates. Pick one thing and try it for a week. Change happens in community, but it also happens incrementally. Find your people, whether that's other interpreters, friends outside of work, or professional support. You don't have to carry any of this alone. Before we wrap up, I wanted to again say the resources that I mentioned at the top of the webinar. If you're experiencing persistent sleep problems, intrusive thoughts, or significant changes in mood or functioning, professional support may be helpful. 2 resources include the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988 and the crisis text line at text home to 741-741. In addition to these slides, I've developed a bibliography. If you have a moment, if you want to reach out to me after this webinar, I'm happy to share the bibliography with you, probably as well as the slides. But just know that there is resources out there. And last but not least, thank you for the work that you do in this world. It is so, so important. And thank you for your desire and taking the first step to take care of yourself. 2 things that you can already put in your cheer bucket. And when you find yourself down, remember to fall up. Remind yourself that you are not, nor do you want to be a rubber band. You can give yourself permission to take a breath, to feel, rest, plot, rise, and then cheer. Celebrate all of the things. And with that, I'm going to invite Analia back to the screen, and I'd love to open this up for questions and discussion. I've seen the chat going wild. I'm going to have to download this to make sure I don't miss anything. But I want to go back to this slide, my slide one more. If you want to stay in touch, my website is https darcigraves.org, but please feel free to find me on LinkedIn or any of the other social medias. Would love to stay in touch and continue to connect. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my slides.
Oh my goodness, Darcy. Yes, the chat is going wild. Everybody's just really expressing their thanks and just the appreciation. Yes, you need to take it all in. This is amazing, amazing. Okay, let me read a few questions for you. Um, okay, let's go with the first one over here. Sorry, I didn't catch the name of what medication you're taking by the spoon. I'm not really sure.
Okay. So it's not a medication, it's a theory called spoon theory. It comes out of the chronic condition community. So individuals, they spoon
Mhm,
and taking be one. So then they only have 9. And, so it's thinking about, it's another way of conceptualizing the type
mhm.
of how to use your energy and how to
Yes.
communicate to those in your life. If you have a partner,
Mm.
telling your spouse or your significant other, yo, it's a 10 spoon kind of day, and I got 20 spoons worth of work on this.
Wow.
I'm going to need some help, or we're going to have to reschedule some things. It's again
Mhm.
just a tangible visual so that you can connect those dots. Um, I find it super helpful, and I share it with other people. I always want to give the chronic condition community their
Mhm.
flowers and the credit for that, but it is an easy way of explaining what you have to give on any given day and helps you negotiate and plan around things.
Darcy, I cannot tell you how impactful this webinar is for all of us. I know for me, just hearing this right now has really helped me to kind of, because I think some of the hardest things for us is to communicate to people what our need is. And you have given us a concrete tool so that people understand that's the type of day that I have today. It's
Mhm.
20 spoons, it's not 10. And sometimes those misunderstandings or people being impatient is because they cannot grasp the level of suffering, of pain, of frustration that we're feeling. And so this
Mhm.
is a fantastic tool to communicate where we're at. Okay, awesome. Next question. Oh, go ahead. Do you want to say something else?
No,
Oh,
I,
okay. It says, big question. Are you already working on your book? Because I will pre-order now. So tell us about it, please.
so I wasn't going to bring this up, but since Analia did, uh, I do have a chapter of a book that is coming out next month. The title of the book is Leading from Within, and I'm happy to share that information again with folks who want to reach out. I will type my email. I will be brave and not worry
Yes.
that 800 emails will automatically show up in my inbox. But if it does, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and put uh, my email in the chat. It's a really complicated one.
Mhm.
It's my name, darci.graves@gmail.com, because I haven't gotten a professional email address yet. But so there it is. Please feel free to email me. I'm happy to share the link to the book, but I have a chapter where I talk about the origin of
Mhm.
Falling Up, and how it kind of came to be, but it's in a larger anthology of 12
Yes.
other authors who are all talking about the concepts
Wow.
of leading from within. So it's uncovering, it's dealing with all that internal nonsense that we
Yes.
tell ourselves, and that we let society tell us, and that we've internalized. And so it's hopefully ways to help people. Um, so there you go.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let me read you a few more. My sister across the sea, she has been diagnosed with breast cancer 3 weeks ago. From your experience, how can I support her? I am so far in distance, but not in my heart and mind.
It's difficult to say when because everybody's way of coping and processing is so
Mm-hmm,
personal. Um, one is to be there and to listen to her if she wants to talk about it. Um, my mom is also a breast cancer survivor. We were opposite ends of the kind of patient experience things. She didn't want to know anything. She didn't want to talk about it. She did her chemotherapy on her lunch break and then went back to work. And I was like, nope, I want to know all of the things. I'm going to spend time resting. I'm going to take care of myself and process all of this so I come out the other side feeling more, feeling back in my body. So uh, just really wanting to make sure. So for your sister, uh, depending on what type of person she is, it
mm-hmm.
might be care packages, it might be emails, it might be snarky memes that you find online. It may be that you create a place of cute puppy videos. There's
Yes.
a thousand different ways to show up for people. Um, but it's really so tailored to that individual that I would never prescribe uh,
Mm-hmm,
one particular way, but just being there for them, not only during the treatment, and the processes and those sorts of things, but after, because it's a weird phenomenon when folks, you have like this outpouring of attention during
mm-hmm,
the treatments and
mm-hmm.
and during all of the things, and all you're like, okay, I'm done with treatment, and everybody's like, okay, great, you're all better, and then everybody kind of
And
like
then they
walks,
forget.
and then everybody walks off, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? Where did everybody go? And I talk about this in the book chapter, but I had a friend probably a month or so after I finished treatment, and she sent me a card that said, "We love you even though you don't have cancer anymore. Happy
I
National Cancer
love it.
Survivors Day."
Oh my gosh,
And
I love
and
it,
that let me
Darcy.
know that there were still people there. So it's
Hmm.
those sorts of things. It's complicated, but there's this, uh, so however with her, whatever connects you all, um, those types of things are going to be appreciated now. You know, the, lots of different things.
One thing, Darcy, in addition to what you just shared, guidance. I know one something we can ask people when we don't know what to do is just to say, "How can I help you?" Because
Hmm.
sometimes we really don't know,
Yep.
and we fluctuate. Our emotions are up and down, and maybe what was helpful one day is not helpful the next day,
Yep.
and that really takes a lot of pressure off oneself because I am asking like today, how can I help you today? What do you
Yep.
need? Right?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and depending on where they are in their process, it may be you're like, how can I help you? I can get you a gift
Mm,
card to DoorDash. I can come over and sit on your couch. I can walk your dog. Like you can give them a menu of two
options.
or three
Hmm.
things that that you're able and capable of doing. Because sometimes if you're sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted for chemo, and somebody says, what can I do? I'm like, I don't know. Um, just send me good juju and I'll be fine. If you think that you have, that can help me support
you.
you.
Okay, no, 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 Fran, my version was like, if it was for me,
Okay, well,
maybe
I
there
just
is a
wanted to make
different.
sure that we weren't
No,
because
it,
Feliz
it's not
Navidad.
today. That is so funny. Okay, everybody, time out just a second. I want everybody to know it's at 12:30. The webinar is formally over. We understand that people need to go to work or just to go to resume your daily activities. Just want to remind you, you will receive a link in 48 hours with and the instructions on how to download your certificate. And don't forget to download it right away, because after 3 weeks from today, if you emailed us and say, could you please send me a certificate, guess what? We have over 900 attendance. We don't do certificates manually. So if I can give you something to remember, as soon as you get that link, immediately download your certificate and save it in your computer. Okay, Darci. So anyway, everybody have a wonderful day. For those that need to go, just know you're safe to go. Darci has graciously agreed to stay a couple of more minutes. I have this question. This says, do you do Spanish interpreting, Darci? If so, how do you interpret falling up in Spanish? So I wanted to read that one to you.
Unfortunately, despite all my experience in culturally and linguistically appropriate services, I am embarrassingly monolingual. I know just enough to pass in a couple of places to make sure that I get the food that I intend to order, but I have not yet figured out how to. But that gives me something to work on. I have a couple of multilingual friends. I'll reach out and say, okay, how do I say fall? How do we convey falling up in other
Yes.
languages?
Okay, Darcy, here's another great one. Have you considered doing a TED Talk? This needs to be shared widely. You should, Darcy.
Uh, If anybody knows any TED Talk organizers, please feel free to connect us. But yes, this is that is my hope. Since I have
Yes.
this time to recalibrate my own life, and I'm still in the process of falling up in
Mhm.
the midst of my career transition. So 100% would love to be able to share this more broadly, because I think um uh see, this is where I took French, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because it will not come out in oh, and we have somebody who's going to work on it in Russian. I love it. Okay, thank you all. Um, this is amazing.
Okay, somebody's asking here, where can we research more about the spoon theory? By the way, thank you. So
If
how
you
can we do
email
that?
me, I will send you a copy of the bibliography that kind of with all the supporting
Mhm.
information that includes some citations about spoon theory.
Okay. Another question, because I know and Nicelle, if you could please post Darcy's email and website, we would greatly appreciate it so Darcy can focus on answering some of these questions. Thank you, Nicelle. Okay, here's another one. How to get over the guilt for sharing my stressful experience with my significant others? It helps me, but it burdens them. Hmm.
I again, not a mental health professional, and I'm single, so I can't validate this with any life experience. But I think having a conversation, say, I feel like, if you can have that honest exchange with your spouse or loved ones, that says, I feel better when I get to talk to you about
Mm-hmm.
X. It feels like uh it's a burden to you. Is there a way, is there a middle ground? Is there a way that I can do it where it's
Mm-hmm.
less burdensome? If can you give me 10 minutes? and I will just put it all out there, and then in 10 minutes we'll let it go. I think there's different ways uh, to kind of process and go through those things. But that's just
That's a
off the
great
cuff.
answer, Darcy. I love
Um,
it.
yeah, so I believe in, and it's always, always easier said than done because nobody likes having difficult conversations. But any kind of negotiation, I think, is a good way of going.
Okay, let me read two more questions and we're going to let you go. As a new freelancer, I am overwhelmed because I feel guilty when I take time to rest or don't accept an assignment, being that I was an on-site interpreter for 22 years before.
I I mean, guilt is hard. It's but that's, and again, not knowing your circumstances
Mm-hmm,
personally or in detail, but it's a lot of times the guilt is stuff that we're putting on ourselves.
mm-hmm.
Um, very sometimes, sometimes guilt comes from outside, but a lot of times guilt comes from inside. So figuring out
Yes.
why you're feeling guilty and how you can help address that,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately, because saying no to something doesn't mean you're saying no forever. Means you're saying no in the moment. You can say,
Yes.
I would love to be of service to you. I would love to help you with this, but can we do it tomorrow? I've kind of hit my limit for today. But you have to take care of yourself, if you want to keep taking care of others, because otherwise you're going to, people end up being that rubber band that gets stretched too far and becomes either inelastic or brittle.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not rubber bands. We're humans first.
Exactly.
And so you have to take care of you and whatever capacity that looks like. So give yourself a
And
little bit of a break. Um,
exactly. And you
I
know
give you
what, Darcy?
permission to walk away.
I love when you said the mantra, I give myself permission to be imperfect. And that is one that I'm taking with me. That's my big takeaway. And I think, again, we don't know the situation with this person, but we can give ourselves permission to say no if we are right.
Yeah.
Uh, we will feel that we're not to capacity. Everyone, Nicel, could you please post the link again to to our the link for our webinars? I do want to remind everybody you will have this webinar posted on our website, and you can share that link with friends, family, anyone that you would like to. Darcy, I mean, thank you so much. I honestly, this has been a fantastic presentation from very different angles. I mean, wonderful information and a lot of practical tools. And I think that's what we all need is something that, like for me, the takeaway, I give myself permission to be imperfect. That is my takeaway. That's a practical tool for me to implement like right now, right? Like
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I mean, and that goes, we put the pressure on ourselves, put the guilt on
Hmm.
ourselves. And at a certain point, you have to take a breath and go, I can't do anymore today. I
Exactly.
can pick this up tomorrow. And that's okay.
And that's okay. So, Darcy, we look forward to reading your book. I know I will be one that will be purchasing it. And thank you so much for donating again your time, your expertise, and thank you for being vulnerable. And the art of falling up, that, you know, what you saw on your knees, that young child, is like, again, I think it was spirit led. I do believe in a higher being
Yep.
because how your traumatic, difficult experience has turned, number one, you're healthy now, but also
Mhm.
it has become of a blessing to all of us that can hear your experience and learn from you. So I want to thank you for being vulnerable, for being open, because it takes being brave to be vulnerable. And not everybody does that, Darci. So, again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of CCC. I know that our director, John Arroyave, would have loved being here today. So on behalf of CCC, thank you. And everybody, I already connected myself with Darci on LinkedIn. You know, she has given us different avenues to connect with her: LinkedIn, her website, the email. So thank you, Darci. We're going to let you
Yes.
go. Thank you
Thank you
again
all.
so much. And for everybody here, again, Nicel and I are going to stay just a couple of more minutes in case that you have any questions by Darci about CCC or Blue Horizon, our self-paced platform. And again, thank you for joining us today. We don't take it for granted. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. Thank you for attending today, because we know you could have chosen another platform to learn, and we just feel very grateful and honored at CCC that you join us today. And I tell you, though you don't see Nicel, she's my right hand, my right leg. You're my left hand, my left leg. Nicel is amazing. She's a superwoman. She makes everything beautiful and happening here at CCC. So I do want to recognize Nicel. Oh, I remiss to say thank you to the beautiful ASL interpreters today. I meant to do that. I need to write it down, because I meant to say that we do want to thank our ASL interpreters that interpreted for us today. And again, thank you to anybody. Oh, I mean, to anybody and to everybody. Ah, you're welcome. It's so great to hear the feedback. You're welcome, everyone. You are very welcome. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Again, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a wonderful fall. We have different courses coming up. We'll see you at either one of our trainings, or we'll see you on our next webinar in October. Everybody have a wonderful, thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate your love, your kindness, your beautiful words of encouragement to us. Have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next month. Thank you again, ASA interpreters. Thank you, Nicel. Thank you, Darci. Everybody, have a wonderful day. Bye.